Hello and welcome to a slightly different video than what you're used to from me, as this is the first video in a series that isn't about stories from myself, rather different people, different adventures, expeditions and the vehicles that got them there and got involved. You can enjoy these new episodes as videos on YouTube as they used to be, but now also in audio format for in the car, in the gym, wherever, over on the Project Amber podcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Yeah, no idea how this is going to go. I've got a teleprompter and a script to read from this time, so that's going to be interesting. But hopefully it's going to be enjoyable, informative and entertaining overall. I've got a lot of video ideas to get through, but this being episode 1, it's got to be something special, hasn't it? And it took me a little while to figure out which one that would be. I think I've picked the right one. Because today's subject matter is around Christopher McCandless, also known as Alexander Supertramp, which many of you will know either of those names. But not necessarily about himself, more about a random discovery he made way out in the Alaskan wilderness, and just quite how it got there. Yes, today's subject is the Magic Bus 142. And just before the video starts, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens have been kind enough to send me out a full kit to try and see what I think. AG1 is an organic nutritional drink with 75 multivitamins, minerals and whole food source ingredients. Now I think we all know that I'm not a gym-dwelling bodybuilder or a health-conscious athlete. The most I've been exercising lately, especially during winter, is just walking the dog. The reason I chose to give it a try is not only for the physical benefits. I know that lately the food I've been eating, like kebab and chips, is not exactly filled with the nutrition I need, but also because I'm on a push for better mental health at the moment, and that is pretty hard to do when your body's running on fumes and pies. It's kind of ironic that I've cared more about my van's health and what I've been putting in that over the past year or two than I have about my own drivetrain. So I took AG1 up on their offer, and what I've done is replace my morning coffee, a pretty vile ritual of mine, with AG1, just 1 scoop and water. The taste honestly took me a minute, not gonna lie. It starts off, there's a bit of an aniseedy sort of flavour, followed by some citrusy notes, a bit of fruit kind of vibe going on in there. Towards the end, as you're swallowing, you get like the texture come through, and it kind of reminds me a bit of sherbet. Like my morning coffee, it gives me an energy boost that I very much need to start my day. Unlike my coffee, that energy boost lasts a lot longer. I'm less hungry into the afternoons, meaning I'm not picking at biscuits and crisps, which is another factor that makes you feel bad. And I can sit at the laptop longer and do what I need to do without losing focus. You know, I get what I need to do done. It also promotes gut health, supports your immune system and helps with recovery if you, unlike me, do go to the gym. Click my link below to get your 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D3, K2 and 5 travel packs free with your first purchase, and thank you to AG1. There aren't many people, especially those who enjoy the idea of escaping society, exploring and wanderlust, who haven't heard of the name Christopher McCandless. His life was immortalised in the 1996 book Into the Wild, written by John Krakauer, and later again in the 2007 film of the same name, directed by Sean Penn, which just so happens to be my favourite film of all time. In case you haven't heard of this story, where have you been? Chris, or Alexander Supertramp as he later went by, was an American nomad who wanted out of societal norms to live and see life how he saw fit. Back then known as a leather tramp who ditched life, as we all get jettisoned into, to seek something more, something different, freedom from the man and control of his own destiny. And this philosophy took him all over the United States and into all sorts of adventures, some better than others. 2 years he walked the earth, no phone, no pool, no pets, no cigarettes. Eventually reaching Alaska, which was his big aim, in which he believed he would find true freedom. And out there he made a pretty random discovery. Hiding in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness was a derelict old bus. Fairbanks Transit Bus number 142, but instead of finding seats inside, he found it scantily kitted out with a bed, a stove, some worktops and your basic amenities. And Chris decided to make this his home in his search for freedom, where he lived simply off the land, enjoying a peaceful, simple existence.
Is there anybody here? Guess not!
Now I could go in on his story alone. Christopher's life was fascinating and inspired many, myself included, that there isn't just a one-size-fits-all way of life and that you can live life outside the norm. But for this video at least, I'm going to refrain from that, as I want to focus my attention on the Magic Bus itself. How did it get there? What's the story behind the bus before it became the famous home of Mr. Supertramp, and what happened to it afterwards? So to start with, Magic Bus 142 is a 1946 International Harvester K5, From the yellow paint peering from underneath the white and green, it's thought to have started life as a school bus, much like the photo being shown here, before being repainted and put to work as a town bus on the streets of Fairbanks, Alaska. After many years of service, it was presumably replaced with a new model and sold off. Yutan Construction Company bought the bus in 1961 as they'd been contracted to build a new access road near the Stampede Trail, connecting Alaska Railroad to an antimony mine, a treacherous area through the Alaskan wilderness, and they needed a cheap and simple way to house the workers during the construction. The bus, or buses, proved to be a perfect solution. It's little known knowledge that Bus 142 was actually part of a fleet, consisting of 3 other buses, all gutted of their engines and seating. Their interiors were refitted with basic amenities like bed frames and stoves to serve as accommodation for the workers whilst the road work went on, and would be towed behind their massive bulldozers. The website Friends of Bus 142 has an interview with Mickey Mariner Hines, whose dad was a part of the construction crew and was the first to live in Bus 142, deeming it their boudoir. The other green and white bus was nicknamed the Galley, and the rest of the crew members were calling the 2 orange buses home. They made their way down the trail as work on the road continued, camping by the riverside at night, catching and cooking fish for dinner, and pushed ahead each morning. That sounds like a pretty cushy job. But a short time into the project, the access road's costs began to spiral, with the tough terrain creating more problems than anticipated, leading to the state to cancel the project altogether. This left a very disheartened crew no choice but to turn the whole convoy round and begin their journey back to civilization, with all 4 buses in tow. But on one fateful and familiar crest, Bus 142's axle snapped and collapsed, rendering it completely immobile. The road crew, unable to make any repairs, had no choice but to push it aside and carry on, returning home with just 3 of the 4 buses. Little is known of the fate of the 3 other buses. More than likely they were sent straight to the scrapyard and crushed. But the Magic Bus's bust axle was what saved it from a similar fate, and it would never move again, at least across land. Stay tuned. As the decades went by, the abandoned road was slowly overtaken by nature, disappearing under heavy overgrowth and sealing the bus off from the world. It was slowly forgotten about, but was left overlooking some of the most beautiful landscapes Alaska has to offer. Only a handful of hunters now knew about the bus's location and would occasionally use it as shelter during the hunting season. But with its location being so difficult to reach, only the most skilled local hunters who knew the area could find it, so mostly the bus was left in complete solitude. Until 1992. 31 years after she was parked, the young but weathered Alexander Supertramp would stumble across 142, the wheels now sunk 6 inches into the ground, the paint peeling away revealing its distinguishable patina, and the odd window blown out. But still well equipped with the worker's bed, stove and furniture, a very lucky find that he would make his home. Adorning it with its name, the Magic Bus, he survived and thrived in the Alaskan wilderness for 113 days, hunting and foraging for food, hiking and exploring the surroundings, living his simple, secluded life away from the rest of humanity in the wild.
Shut up, I'm taking you out to where we're going. Where are you going? I told you, we're going nowhere!
Until, well, we all know the story, right? This isn't going to be a spoiler alert. If you're watching this and you don't know the story, I don't know why you're here. Go and read the book or watch the film, it'll change your life. When finally trying to head back to civilization, Chris realised he'd made a grave error. The Teklanica, cool. The Teklanica River, which upon arrival had been frozen, was now a deadly torrent of rapids and rock faces, impossible to cross, effectively trapping in the very place he'd called home. So he returned to the bus, but food was running worryingly low, and his hunting for meat had proved mostly unsuccessful. He foraged from what little there was on offer at that time of year, coming across some seeds and roots, but unfortunately he misread his wild fauna guide and ingested some toxic wild potato seeds. Although what he ingested is still debated today, Alexander Supertramp's horrific fate was sealed. On the 18th of August 1992, Christopher McCandless died just 24 years old. In a cruel turn of fate, his body was found by hunters just 19 days after his believed death, tucked up in his sleeping bag on the rear bed of the bus. Attached to the sliding doors of the bus was a note. Attention possible visitors. SOS. I need your help. I am injured, near death, and too weak to hike out of here. I'm all alone, this is no joke. In the name of God, please remain and save me. I'm out collecting berries close by and shall return this evening. Thank you, Christopher McCandless. August ? His diary was later found inside the bus, which would become the basis for the book and film that would make his story famous across the world. It also aided in determining exactly what happened to him. Day 107 was the last readable entry, only reading beautiful blueberries. Day 108 to 112 had no words, just marked with slashes. Day 113, no entry. Possibly the most tragic artefact found inside was on page 189 of the book Dr. Zvago. Scribbled in Chris's handwriting above a highlighted passage were the words, "Happiness is only real when shared." Still gets me, that one. Chris's body was airlifted from the bus for post-mortem and returned to his family for burial. The following articles, books, documentaries and movie elevated him to legendary status. But the magic bus lay dormant once again, alone on the crest where it was parked 32 years prior. But that wouldn't last long. Over the years, as the story spread, only gaining momentum from the book and film coming out, increasing numbers of hikers and inspired fans would make this spot a pilgrimage. I mean, somewhat understandable, given the chance. I think I'd be tempted. But in reality, the Stampede Trail is no place to mess around, especially for the unprepared. And with dramatic seasonal change, even the experience can run into difficulties. Many attempts to reach the bus would result in hikers needing to be rescued, and sadly others would end in similar tragedies to the original, with at least 2 people being killed on their way to or from the site. Both recorded were young women, experienced in hiking but drowned trying to cross the very river that trapped Christopher McCandless. Those who did make it counted themselves lucky, paid their respects, took their photos and perhaps left a note, flowers or memento. Some, however, would choose to vandalise, climb on and damage the bus for photos or film camp-out YouTube videos documenting just how ill-prepared they were. You don't have to sit on the internet long to come across content that leaves you perplexed at how these people who were so moved by Chris's story that they made the pilgrimage to the site are the very same people that show such a sheer lack of respect for what is essentially a grave site. The site became such a deadly hotspot that in 2020 the decision was made by authorities to take action, and the bus was airlifted out by Chinook helicopter. One final journey for this 76-year-old rusty engineless bus with a broken axle. I doubt that anybody in connection with this bus, from the guys who built it and sent it out the factory door, all of the commuters that it once held, the construction crew, the Mariner family, the hunters, all of us who know the story, and Chris himself, couldn't have conceived that one day the magic bus would fly. 142 is now in the hands of the University of Alaska Museum of the North. You need a shorter name. Where it's currently undergoing conservation work and is on display during and after this process. Oh yeah, I wasn't sure how I personally felt about the bus being moved from its original site at first, but after doing all the research for this video, I've come to the conclusion that that is probably the right move. Because at the end of the day, it's been saved. If not just from all the vandalism, nature would have eventually reclaimed the bus and it would have been lost forever. Now it's indoors and being preserved for generations to come, and with it, the story of Alexander's Supertramp, the man who refused to live life normally and came to inspire millions, myself included, as I'm currently sat in a magic bus of my own. A spot of good news now, you can actually be a part of preserving the magic bus. In the description below is a link to friendsofone42.com, where they are accepting donations and selling merch, with all these proceeds going to help keep the bus in one piece. There's also updates on how the bus is getting on and the interview from Mickey Mariner Hines. And there's a little side fact at the end that I don't have all that much detail on because I forgot to type this bit out and I've just come back across it now. There's actually 2 bus 142s. There's the real one and there's the replica. It was originally planned and widely thought that the movie was filmed on the site in the original bus, but Sean Penn, the director, decided that that would be disrespectful, so another Harvester K5 was sourced and completely kitted out to look like the original. That is now parked and can be viewed and gone in the brewery of a small town called Healy near the Denali National Park. So you can actually go and see that one. If you're in the States, I am not, so that's me out. Oh, well, I hope you enjoyed that one. Slightly sad story at parts, but I think, focus on the good and amazing that the story brings as well. Let me know your thoughts, theories, and anything else in the comments, or if you're listening to it on a podcast, you can leave a review. And while you're at it, why not like and subscribe? I've got plenty more of these stories in the pipeline, so you'll be notified when they all come out. And if you've got a story or point of interest that you can think of that you'd like to be covered, feel free to let me know. Maybe you've got an interesting story from your own life you'd like covered, in which case there'll be an email down below. I'll need quite a lot of details, so yeah, email's probably the best one for that. As I said at the start, this is a brand new format that I'm playing with, so things have yet to improve, but will improve. But for now, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening to this tale, and I will see you next time. much.